A little over 33 years ago, I made the first of 2 major dietary changes. And in 1 month here in Houston, there's going to be a documentary talking about how all these other athletes are now learning what I learned 33 years ago. That documentary is called The Game Changers, directed by James Cameron. It's a powerful documentary showing that when athletes stop eating animals, their performance gets better, their testosterone gets better, their life gets better. And yet we're told just the opposite, aren't we? You know, in order to understand anything in this world, you really have to understand who's behind the curtain and who they are and how they're tricking everybody and how they control opposition and how they control the knowledge we need to live better. And that's taking place right now in the field of what's known as intermittent fasting. Now, 33 years ago, I changed my diet. My endurance level skyrocketed. I was putting in 7-8 hours every day of exercise, and I'm not guessing or exaggerating or embellishing. I kept detailed records of everything I did back then. And when I changed my diet, I couldn't believe the improvement of my endurance. And then I wanted to know more. If what I eat makes such a big difference, how much should I eat and when should I eat? And when should I eat it? Well, again, no one could give me the detailed information that I needed because I was so active. But I figured it out on my own. And I spent a lot of time perfecting this mathematical procedure, which is why I started to write a book on weight loss 31 years ago. What I had done is I used my formal education in accounting, and I used the scientific method of matching money in and money out. I applied it to calories. So I took the total calories and I spread it out to protein, the carbohydrates, and fats. That's pretty easy to do when we're eating. But then when we're exercising, we need to know a little bit more about the anatomy and physiology and how we burn calories, whether we're watching TV or we're exercising, and depending upon the activity and the duration. I had access to all that knowledge long ago, and I was able to estimate all of my physical activity. For 15 months, I perfected this mathematical procedure. It didn't take me long to tweak all the details out of it, but I used it for 15 months. Every day I kept track of everything I ate and all of my exercise, and it took me 2 to 4 hours of calculations every day. But I knew 10 key by touch. I could whip through that calculator like nothing flat. But I was going through several hundred calculations every day to make sure I matched the protein, the carbohydrates, and the fats. And the main thing I focused on was that carbohydrate fuel tank. It's a very small fuel tank, folks. Very few people on this planet understand this fuel tank like I do, because I kept track of it for 15 months nonstop, and I did it for so long that I don't have to do it anymore. I already know where that fuel tank is based on what I do and what I eat, because I've done it for so long. And not only did I keep track of what I did, but I said, well, let's take a look at the possible extremes. What if I do nothing? What if I do the most I could? Now I got ranges. Now I can work with things. In fact, one reason why I struggled with this book for so long is it was too complicated. No one's going to want to go through 200 calculations every day to figure out what they need to eat. So I figured out how to come up with tables, and I'm glad I did, because that helped me understand the ranges. Now I realize we got low carbohydrate burners, medium carbohydrate burners, and high carbohydrate burners, and both of them are based on the extremes, so everybody's got to fit within these ranges. So I'm able to look at this in a way that very few people can. And I'm bringing this up now because the powers that be control the opposition. They make sure we don't really understand what fasting is all about, and the way they're tricking us now is illustrated in a video I watched this morning about intermittent fasting and how beneficial it was for people with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And they missed the boat completely. They think the reason why fasting works is because of the ketones. That's not what fasting is all about. The fasting is burning up the rubbish that's within us. Remember, most of our problems are coming from things inside of us that don't belong there. So when you take a solid food vacation on water or juices, you're eliminating the things that are causing most of our problems. And when you do a water fast, the body in its wisdom knows what's going on. It can't use its primary fuel source anymore, glucose. It uses a backup system. That's ketosis. So when you do a solid food vacation on water, after 3 days, the body knows what's going on. That's when it kicks in ketosis and autolysis. That's a self-digestive mode where the body's going to eat up stuff that doesn't belong in there, go after the bad stuff. So it takes a while to kick in ketosis, and again, the body knows what it's doing. and it's our backup system. But now what we see are people taking intermittent fasting and saying, look, if you eat this ketogenic diet and not eat breakfast or eat it within this short window, you're going to see all these great benefits, and you will to some degree. But you're also going to notice that your cholesterol is going up, and you're not going to have the kind of energy you really need if you're very active at all. This diet can work for some couch potatoes, but the understanding of how it works is so distorted, the average person doesn't know what's going on. I'm going to help you guys understand that in this video, because I understand how this carbohydrate fuel tank works. And I know what we're being told is an outright lie. What this guy said in this video I saw, I had 3.5 million views, a TEDx seminar, what was his name? Matt Masterson or something like that. You tell he doesn't know what he's talking about because he's a professor at Johns Hopkins Hospital. These clowns don't know anything. Their education's been controlled. They don't understand how the body works. And what this guy was saying is that when we eat food, it goes into the liver and we store the glycogen. And he's right, we do. But then he makes a lie. Then he says something that's just outright a lie. He says it takes 10 to 12 hours to deplete the glycogen. We go for the glycogen first, and after it's run out, we go to the fat. That's when ketosis kicks in. That's not when ketosis kicks in. That's a lie. And it doesn't take 10 to 12 hours to deplete the average woman's store of glycogens. It may take 50 hours. 50 hours. And we don't go to glucose first. At rest, 60% of our calories are fat, the other 40% are carbohydrates. So the average woman is burning maybe around 50 calories an hour. 40% of that would be carbohydrates. That's 20 calories an hour. They've got a fuel tank of about 1,000 calories. That's going to take 50 hours to deplete it. So this guy doesn't understand how the carbohydrate fuel tank works. We don't go first to glucose, we run out of it, we go to fat. No, as soon as we empty our carbohydrate fuel tank, we don't jump into ketosis, we jump into gluconeogenesis. So most of you people who think you're following a ketogenic diet, you're not doing that right unless your breath smells like nail polish remover. That's how you know you're in ketosis. You're not, you're in gluconeogenesis. And the way these diets are working, relatively speaking, successfully, is because up to 58% of excess dietary protein can be used for gluconeogenesis so the body doesn't go after its own lean body mass. So we got a small carbohydrate fuel tank. If you don't eat anything, it can empty within 3 days. The body will kick in ketosis, but that's not usually what happens. Most people empty their carbohydrate fuel tank because they are on a diet. They eat less calories than they are supposed to. And when they do that, they do it by using portion control instead of food selection. And when you use portion control instead of food selection, you're going to have the same fat percentages and carbohydrate percentages. So what happens to the average person who tries to lose a pound a week, 2 pounds a week, 1,000 calories a day, what happens is that for the average person, this is why I started writing a book on weight loss 31 years ago, is that they'll deplete that carbohydrate fuel tank slowly. And what this guy says, as long as you're eating 3 meals a day, you'll never deplete your carbohydrate fuel tank. That's wrong. When you try to lose weight and you do it with food selection and not portion control instead of food selection, you still got the same carbohydrate and fat percentages, and that doesn't work. That's the reason why low-fat diets work when you're trying to eat less calories. As you consume less calories, you got to eat less fat to make sure you eat enough carbohydrates to keep your carbohydrate fuel tank full. So you can't make blanket statements that it takes X amount of time to deplete the carbohydrate fuel tank. And the guy did mention, well, if you exercise, you can deplete it faster. That's true. But we store glycogen in our muscles too. So when we start exercising, that's where that's coming from. So what happens to most of you people who are on these diets where you're on a low-carb diet and you think you're kicking in ketosis, all you're doing is kicking in gluconeogenesis. And this illustrates how important carbohydrates are. People say there's no essential need for carbohydrates. So people don't know how to understand how to keep track of that carbohydrate fuel tank, and it seems complicated to explain it. And you can't come up with standards because it all depends on where you're at. But what I do know is that if you are eating 1,000 calories a day every day and you don't change your percentages, that you'll probably lose about 500 calories of carbs every day. Within 2 or 3 days, you deplete your carbohydrate fuel tank. And then, again, what happens is that's when gluconeogenesis kicks in. That's when the body says, I got to get carbohydrates. Again, carbohydrates are so important, our body will eat its own lean body tissue. And they say there's no essential need. They don't know how to figure it out. We do have an essential need. We just can't put an exact number on it because it varies so much based on where your fuel tank is at and what you've been doing. But the point here is when that fuel tank empties, it doesn't jump into ketosis, it jumps into gluconeogenesis. And what's the preferred fuel source to create glucose? It isn't fat, like we've been told. No, we don't go running to fat. We go running after our lean body tissue. And that's why I started to write a book on weight loss 31 years ago, because I realized this is the main way people yo-yo diet. There's a lot of ways we can yo-yo diet. A lot of it is when we just don't have the willpower. But a lot of people yo-yo diet because when they don't know how to do it the right way, they don't protect their lean body mass, they lose muscle mass. Now when you go back to eating, you're going to gain weight because your metabolism is lower, because now you have less muscle mass. So once again, I got to emphasize this over and over and over. When your carbohydrate fuel tank empties, we go to gluconeogenesis. Only a small part goes to fat. It mainly goes after lean body tissue. Now how can you modify a diet and protect your lean body mass? You consume a whole bunch of excess animal tissue. Once again, as I mentioned moments ago, up to 58% of excess dietary protein can be used for gluconeogenesis. And that's where most of us are getting the carbs that we need. It's from gluconeogenesis. We're not kicking in ketosis. We're not kicking in this ultra fat burning metabolism that we think we are. We're being tricked, my friends. And again, if we go back to the example of a woman burning 20 calories of carbs every hour and has a 1,000-calorie fuel tank, typical of a woman, it's going to take 50 hours, not 10 or 12 hours, before even gluconeogenesis kicks in. And it usually doesn't happen overnight, like I just mentioned. It usually happens slowly, gradually, when we start eating less calories and we still consume the same amount of garbage we've been consuming. The only way to lose weight successfully for most of us is to stop focusing on portion control and go to food selection. When you go to food selection, now you're choosing foods that want you to eat them. Now you're choosing foods that are going to top off your fuel tank every time you eat. So this guy says, as long as you're eating 3 times a day, you'll never run out of glycogen. That's not true. It's easy to run out of glycogen if you're not eating your species-specific diet, which is high in carbohydrates and is designed to fill your carbohydrate fuel tank full every day. So everything this guy was saying was wrong. He's trying to take the benefits of fasting, and what it does is it cleans up garbage, and now he's saying it's magically due to processing the ketones. That's not the trick to how fasting works. I know. I've read just about every book there is on fasting. I know. I have personally taken a solid food vacation on juices for over 1,300 days. I know. I've coached thousands of people. I know that the benefits of taking a solid food vacation has nothing to do with kicking in ketosis, my friends. It has to do with getting rid of things that don't belong inside of us. A lot of confusion in this area. How do you make any sense out of it? You've got to prove this to yourself, folks. I know people who tried the ketogenic diet, they lost a lot of weight, they get their blood checked, and all of a sudden the cholesterol numbers are astronomical. That's not a recipe for health, folks. There's a lot of ways to lose weight unhealthfully. So the number one way to lose weight is to do it to be healthy. Realize that we've got something inside of us that doesn't belong there, mainly because we're not eating our species-specific diet. We've got to take a solid food vacation, folks. Clean out both the bathrooms we have in our body. If you've got Alzheimer's, if you got amyloid plaque in your brain, or if you have Parkinson's, if you got acids chewing on your brain, same solution. That works for cancer and diabetes and arthritis, works for you guys too. Got to clean out those bathrooms. This isn't about kicking in ketosis. And I did a video not too long ago about intermittent fasting. I did one several years back about how often should we eat. And I know that you could take every person on this planet that's eating a horrible diet or a good diet, doesn't matter. Quit, let them eat breakfast, put them to 1 meal a day, either one of those, and they're going to see improvements in most of the cases. That shows the power of intermittent fasting. And now what are the powers that be doing to us? They're taking this wonderful thing called intermittent fasting, helping us realize we shouldn't be eating 3 meals a day and snacking all day long. They're taking that and they're saying, oh, the benefits come by kicking in ketosis, and they're lying. We're not kicking in ketosis when we do these diets, folks. We're kicking in gluconeogenesis. And the only way that's saving us from eating our own tissue is because now we're eating the dead flesh of another animal. It's not how we're designed to eat. Ketosis is a backup system that kicks in whenever we're not giving the body what it needs, and we go into a fasting mode. But most of us are eating such horrible foods that we become obese. We try to lose weight by eating less calories, but we don't know that there's a relationship between how much fat we can eat and how much weight we can lose in order to protect our lean body mass. Main reason why the low-fat diet didn't work for so many people is they thought, well, as long as I don't eat any fat, I won't get fat. I'm eating 10,000 calories, I only need 2,000. So they're all carbs, none are fat, but the excess of carbs turns to fat. Now they're saying, don't eat any carbs. See how we're being tricked? That's not the answer, folks. Our bodies are designed to work on sugar. Simple sugar found in the fruit. The fructose that doesn't even need insulin to open up the door to let the sugar go in. Unlike protein that needs insulin to open up the door to get inside the cells. So many things are backwards, folks, when it comes to nutrition. Every time something good comes along, like intermittent fasting, they try to bastardize it by saying, okay, once you come off the fast, we got to continue on eating this high protein, high fat diet. No, that's not what we're designed to eat. Every animal on this planet, and we're no exception, has a species-specific diet. We are clearly not animal eaters by every anatomical definition or anatomical characteristic, by the definition of every anatomical characteristic, especially in the intestines. That's the number one clue that we should look at, because every animal, these plants, has intestines that are about 10 times the length of their torso. Every animal that's eaten, animals, carnivores, and omnivores, their intestines are 3 times the length of their torso. Humans, plant eaters, watch the Game Changers. Struggling with testosterone, men? Within 10 days on a plant-based diet, your testosterone can go up 20%. You guys want to perform better in every area of your life, whether it's in the bedroom or competing in sports? Quit eating the animals and watch what happens to you. Watch the Game Changers. If you don't believe me, watch these athletes. Learn what I learned 33 years ago. I'm filming this on 8/16/2019 and a 9/16/2019. The Game Changers is coming to Houston. Can't wait to watch this great documentary, showing to the world that vegans aren't weakly, if you know what you're doing. But you got to keep in mind, a lot of people who call themselves vegans are eating potato chips and Cokes. Of course, they're not healthy. Just because you only correct one of the 5 mistakes we're making, not eating the animals, does not mean you're going to be healthy, because most of those are also making those other mistakes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch my video, What is the Healthiest Diet for Humans? It's almost an hour long. It'll help you understand what the cause of disease is. It'll help you understand that we have 10 main body systems we might need to support in case they're not functioning properly. And I'm telling you, if you don't understand the cause of disease, you're going to get tricked and fooled by watching these TEDx videos on YouTube, because you don't know enough about what they're saying. You don't realize how they're tricking you and talking about fasting and then trying to act like it's the ketones that are the magic that's happening when we're in a fasting state. It has nothing to do with those ketones, folks. When we undertake a solid food vacation, it's the same miracle that happens when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. It's not quite the same thing on a solid food vacation on juices, but it's hard to pull off a water fast nowadays. Most people have too many responsibilities. They can't take off from work and do nothing but drink water. But you can take a solid food vacation if you do it on juices, and you can still work, and you can address so many other issues that you can't address when you're drinking nothing but water. You can deal with the environmental toxins that you have. You can deal with still going to work and not only work well, but work better than you ever have. And if you're starting to lose your memory, if you got acids eating at your brain, which is what Parkinson's disease is all about, you got to realize there's a simple solution. You got to clean out the bathrooms. In fact, it wasn't but a few years ago they said we found a new lymph system in the brain. Now we got 2 of them in there. We didn't know the other ones there. We got to rewrite the textbooks. The reason why our brains suffer as we age is the bathroom that surrounds our brain is dirty. Amyloid, what is that? It's a protein waste byproduct. What is Parkinson's disease? You've got excitotoxins, or your own acids chewing away at your brain. Clean out these 2 bathrooms, my friends, and life gets really simple. If you're not ready to take a solid food vacation on juices, start off with a no breakfast plan. Just quit eating breakfast. Ideally, you'll eat better foods, but even if you keep eating the same crap you have, you'll see an amazing improvement. Knock it back to 1 meal a day and you'll see even more improvement. Stop eating the wrong foods, and that's when you finally wake up and realize, my God, life is an illusion. We are what we eat. But we can't extrapolate that to everything else, because it does apply to everything else. Virtually everything on this planet has to do with the fact that we have no self-control. We're a bunch of gluttons. We live to eat instead of eat to live. And as Tolstoy pointed out, there's only one way to take back control. That was his first step. Happens to be my first step too. It's a solid food vacation. Tolstoy water, John Rose juices. When you do either one of them, I guarantee you, ow, you're in for a treat.